So hello, everybody. Welcome to our monthly Eloqua User Group meeting, or our UG meeting, EUG. I'm glad to have you here today, along with, sorry, my cat's on my keyboard. It was just muting and unmuting my mic. Hopefully everybody can still hear. So let's get right into it. So I'm Karin Pindle. KP is my work name. Basically, people have called me KP for years. But I've been using Eloqua in some fashion or another for 17 years now. So most of my career, I was a marketer that used it for 4 years at 2 different companies, and then switched over to a consultant role. And that's where I've been for the last 13 years, helping lots of different companies with Eloqua and other platforms similar to it, and get the most value from it. Sometimes just like understand the basics of it to get going. So it's thankfully been a cool part of my career. I remember my job interview at the first company I joined where they had it and I'd never heard of Eloqua. I was like, can you please spell that? I had no idea what she was even saying. And then she spelled it for me, and lo and behold, 17 years later, I'm thankfully in this position to run this group, and honored to do so with you guys. So outside of work, I updated my photos here. I spend a lot of time with my partner Amy and our 3 pups and 4 cats, which one just left. I guess she got bored. And family and friends, of course. And this picture on the left was just from a place we go hiking, not normally in jeans and boots, but we actually did like a actual photo thing with one of our friends who's a professional photographer, and did the family photos, I guess, there. And then so that's in Tennessee, like 45 minutes outside of Nashville, to give you some frame of reference. And then on the right, that's in upstate New York, where I'm actually from. And we went on vacation in October and spent time at a place that had a pond that was fantastic, with 2 labs and a dog that is a mixture of a bunch of different breeds. The one on the left that's dark there, they absolutely loved the water. Obviously, this dog here, Winnie, loved it the most. And let's see here. Here's our agenda. So I thought this GIF was funny. I've run into this GIF over the years. I think somebody else shared it with me like many years ago, but marketing automation. Anyway, simple humor gets me. I'm going to start quick with our relevant reminders. I'm going to hand it over to Jody Mooney from the Oracle product team. Jody and I know each other, gosh, I think it's over like 10 years now. We worked together back at Eloqua when Eloqua was just Eloqua, not owned by Oracle. So we go way back, and she knows her Eloqua stuff inside and out, and has done a fabulous job over the years on the product team to help you guys learn Eloqua, keep up to date on the releases. So she's going to talk to us about the latest Eloqua release 22D and give us some highlights there. Then we're going to pass it over to Sinthu from Oktopost. So they have a social media management platform. It works really well with Eloqua, so she's going to talk about that. They presented over about a year ago, but we're going to have them give us the latest greatest on their tool and the benefits for you guys as Eloqua users. And then, of course, if you have questions, don't have to wait till the end. Feel free to pop them into the Q&A, and we'll keep a close eye on that during the entire meeting, of course. And then if you have any comments, feedback, reach out to me anytime, of course, but if you want to put anything in the chat, or if you want to speak during this meeting, especially at the end when we have hopefully some time for Q&A, if you want to share a tip, ask something, whatever it is, just, if you can in the Zoom, raise your hand or just pop it into the chat. Just want to make this as interactive as you guys would like, but also no pressure if you're just wanting to hang out. So I'm going to send you a follow-up email. We use Eloqua, and we use Salesforce CRM and Oktopost and blah, 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 other tools, Uberflip. But anyway, I will send you guys a follow-up email with the links that are shared during this meeting and the content and the recording. So if you have to leave, no worries. So just some quick reminders, and some of these are US specific, but I thought they were pretty interesting, and some of them are not. I have another slide of some just global things that are being celebrated this month of November. So one of the things is November is often known in the US for Thanksgiving. However, Thanksgiving oftentimes puts the spotlight on white Americans and pilgrims and the heroes supposedly back then that found America, when really there were a lot of people living in North America way before pilgrims from Europe and other regions of the world came to North America. So many of us are hopefully, thinking of it a little bit differently, still celebrating on Thanksgiving, but with a different lens for the focus on Native Americans, or like I've looked up, researched this, do Native Americans want to be called Native Americans, Indigenous Americans, American Indians, and most prefer, and this comes from a Native American website that's national in the US, American Indian is the term that they prefer, or better, if they are actually a part of a tribe or an Indian nation, they would prefer to be called, for instance, Cayuga American Indian or Cayuga Indian. So actually, I picked out a couple of tribes from the state that I'm from, New York, which has a lot of American Indians living there and nations. So it's interesting when I talk to people about the county I grew up in, Oswego County. The word Oswego is American Indian. Onondaga County, it's a county right next door. Anyways, there's just a lot of American Indians that live there and heritage, and it was pretty cool to grow up around that. So anyways, November 25th was declared Native American Heritage Day by the current US President Biden. So they made that official. And I wondered, I'm like, wait, isn't there an Indigenous People Day as well? There is. So that's October 10th. What's the difference? So Native American heritage, that could mean that you have relatives that are Native American. You're not an active Native American or American Indian, like living on a nation or in a tribe. Indigenous people, those are folks who are active American Indians. They live on an Indian nation or are part of a tribe or both. And if you didn't know, in just the US alone, there's over 570 actual tribes or federally recognized tribes and nations. And that's just the US. There's obviously, every continent has Indians and tribes, etc. So this was just something I thought that was pretty neat. And it's every state in the US and province in Canada, there are Indians and tribes and nations. So it's pretty cool. And then, like, I think I mentioned this every month, there's like every month celebrates something or some things. Like November has a lot going on. Diabetes awareness, epilepsy awareness, Movember. Gosh, I remember when I worked at Eloqua and was going to the Toronto office back in the day and saw a lot of guys with mustaches. That's when I first was exposed to Movember and the cause. And actually the company that started Movember.com, they're a nonprofit that tries to focus on men's health issues like testicular cancer in the balls, prostate cancer, and suicide awareness. So last month was the Tatas awareness for the ladies, and which actually men can get breast cancer too, though it's less likely. But for the men out there, if you didn't know, or for the ladies, either way, testicular cancer is most common with younger guys, while prostate is the leading cancer in men, no matter what age. I've known men with prostate cancer, you may have as well, but don't be shy, guys. Like, check your balls, have your partner check your balls, whatever it is. Just want to encourage people to take care of themselves and not have the the stigma around that. Same thing with epilepsy has a stigma, suicide, all these things that people for many years didn't talk about. The more we are able to be open and talking about it, the better it supports people that are going through the challenges, and to help them and to raise awareness on what terms to use and what you can do to support causes to help, for instance, maybe find a cure for epilepsy. My poor father, he suffered from epilepsy and depression, and then he killed himself. So and my leaves are being blown right outside my window, perfect timing. So I'm going to keep rolling here. Okay, so to Eloqua, relevant reminders. So Jody is going to get into the highlights of the 2020 release. Poor timing. But I'm thankful to have some fellows helping to get our leaves cleared off of our plant. So I'm not going to share much there, other than some of you already have the 22D release live in your Eloqua. Depends on what pod your Eloqua's on. So she'll share more details about the release. But for anybody that doesn't know, that's newer to Eloqua, when we talk about new releases, it's new features, sometimes that come out on the platform, fixes or changes to existing features. And It happens every quarter of the calendar year. It's called, for this year, since it's 2022, the first quarter was 22A, and then there was 22B, C, and now we're in D because it's the last quarter of the year. You don't get to choose to get the release and the new features, etc. With software as a service, which Eloqua is considered, where you log into it online and use it. This is how it works. It's not like back in the day with software where you load it on your computer, like even Windows, for example, you can choose to do the updates to Windows or not and go from there. With Eloqua, it happens. It's a good thing. I wouldn't see any pro for opting out of new releases. They're good things for the platform to help us better use it. And then if you want to stay on the up and up with Eloqua and what Oracle's publishing, like Jody and team, from the product team on new releases, the system status, if there's any issues with it. None of these platforms are perfect, that's for darn sure. So sometimes they do go down, or parts of the platform go down. That's normal, obviously to a certain degree. And Eloqua is one of the better ones with uptime, thankfully. And then Jody and team started the Eloqua Tip Tuesday. Comes out on Tuesdays, and you can subscribe to get notified about that. There's product roadmap updates, at least annually, sometimes more than that, which actually I'm going to skip down to this third bullet. In our December Eloqua User Group meeting, we're going to have somebody from the Oracle product management team join us and present most of that meeting on the Eloqua product roadmap, and help you guys understand what's happening with Eloqua, what's Oracle, what are the plans for Oracle with Eloqua. It's always good to know that all the time, as much as we can hear from Oracle on it. So I'm excited to hear what they're going to share in that meeting. And then to subscribe to Topliners, when you get on the website and you're logged in, I'm going to have this link shared with you guys after, but anytime you're on Topliners and you want to get notified via email automatically when something new gets popped in, a new discussion comes into the Eloqua Insiders group, you can just go to notification preferences and new discussions. So you have a couple of options here, but I like to get notified via email whenever there's a new discussion. So that's, I think, pretty much everything. The free user training, I'm going to just skip over that for now for time's sake. If you miss an Eloqua user group, it's on our website. I always post them there the same day and then email you all after as well. So you'll get easy access to these recordings, no registration required. And just staying in the know on stuff outside of Eloqua, not just thinking like Eloqua related, but marketing strategies, other marketing technologies out there that people are buzzing about, strategies for just marketing around the holidays, you know, not even technology related. ClickZ is something that I follow and recommend to people. So, and I wish I'd known about probably like 10 years ago. So anyway, I'm going to hand it over now to Jody. Jody, thank you again for coming to present. Really appreciate it, and excited to hear about the new things coming out with the release that actually some of us probably already see in Eloqua.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. I will share my screen. All righty. Thank you. I feel like I've got quite the big shoes to fill now after that introduction earlier as well. But we do go way back. It is incredible, actually, the shared history. And I find it really unique with the Eloqua community, because as much as it's constantly evolving and changing, people fall so close within the Eloqua community. Maybe they go and they use another product at a different company, but they seem to come back. And they seem to bring Eloqua back in, and it's just such a blissful experience. I know the number of times I'll see a name pop up, and it's like, I recognize that person. I think I saw them at Eloqua Experience back in 2000, and fill in the date. But yeah, it is such a unique community, actually, and we are very, very grateful as well. But all right, so you're here for some updates on Eloqua's releases. So let me get into the content. Quick safe harbor, forward-looking. So just a reminder of our safe harbor statement. As Karin alluded to, we've got the release is actually mid-flight right now. So some of you, depending on which pod you're on, received the release back 2 weeks ago, November 4th. Our release is in the second part of it now. So if you're in pod 3, 4, or 6, you'll get it over the next day or so with our Friday, November 18th release rollout dates. And if you're watching this on demand, you likely already have it. So you can go take advantage of any of these features right away. I do call attention to our apps releases as well. Some of the features that we are talking about today are actually part of our apps release. And that runs monthly, and it's actually separate from the Eloqua core releases. And there's zero downtime. So they actually happen in the background. You don't even know what happens. It's very quiet. It just rolls out. But this would cover things like Salesforce, the Salesforce app, the Oracle Sales app. We're going to talk about some of the sales tools today. Those are part of that apps release, and those just happen behind the scenes. So we haven't always talked about those dates on these calls before because they are behind the scenes, but we thought we'd just draw your attention to it. And if you want more information, there's definitely lots in top liners like Karin was mentioning. So before I get into specifically 24D, I did want to mention a recent highlight, and I think my PowerPoint has just frozen. Slow down, PowerPoint, come back. Okay, so I'm really happy to say that WebEx has actually released a new app. So they worked in very close partnership with Oracle, but WebEx is actually, or Cisco's brought a new WebEx app to the market for Eloqua users. This actually takes their new webinar offering, so the functionality of their new webinar offering, and packages all of the WebEx app functionality into a new app. So you don't have to stop using the older existing app unless you want to start using the new webinar offering. So the new app puts all of it together in one, so you're not using two, which is obviously a much better situation. But then customers can take advantage of all of the new webinar offering that Cisco is offering out on their core platform. This includes the actions for webinars, for those meetings and webinar registrations. It includes the feeder, so the capability of adding folks into a campaign after an event, as well as the decisioning for the webinar meeting registration, attendance, and all that stuff too. So really happy to say this is already out. I think they launched it in late September, early October. I put the little bit.ly in there. If you want to grab, that takes you to their app listing in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, and they've got a whole bunch of other information there, but we wanted to just obviously support our partner, but also let you know this is something that a lot of Eloqua customers were really looking forward to and shared a lot of feedback with our team as well as Cisco. So it is now available. And we will have other updates about other webinar or meeting providers and future apps soon. I do not have an update on the new Zoom app yet. It is in the works. It was going through security reviews. I hope by 23A, I can tell you it is ready for you to go. I will get that question off the table right now because I know somebody's going to ask me that one in the Q&A at the end. No, I don't have an update on Zoom yet, but we're monitoring very closely. Okay, specific to Eloqua for our 22D update. This release, you'll actually notice a good amount of analytics updates. So Attilia was supposed to be our presenter on today's call, but unfortunately she got pulled into another obligation. So I get to present her content and her slides, but she was really excited because we're releasing 3 new standard reports. And I'm going to go through each of them. I'm going to start with the database growth trend report. So this one is really, really, really great. If you're in marketing ops or you're an admin, you can get some really great nuggets out of this report. All marketers will appreciate it, but in particular, really great for marketing ops and admins. Within this report, you can better understand database health and growth. It gives you a breakdown of total contacts, new contacts, reachable contacts, and has 2 new growth rates: total contacts and reachable contacts. And we've added some new visual indicators so that you can see, by an icon, if there's upwards or downwards trends in those growth rates too, which is really great. There's also 2 new graphs. So total contact growth by month with a trend line for total contacts in the database, as well as a simple line graph that shows the trend in growth rates between reachable and total contacts. So again, if you like nerding out on the data, marketing ops, admin, you can get a lot deeper into the data with this new out-of-the-box report. Contact field analysis, the same vein, right? We're going deeper in a lot of different places. So this gives you that breakdown on field usage. So you'll be able to look at the total values, the percentage populated, the missing values, the percentage of missing, and also gives you that relationship between those fields that are populated versus those that are missing values in the database. Just a quick note on this one though, we don't currently support custom fields, but that is something that's on the radar and the team is looking at bringing that in a future release. But really helps you get a better feel for what's going on in terms of your fields and where you need to focus your attention. And our third new report coming out with the 22D release is the auto activity analysis report. So this gives you that monthly breakdown of open and click activities, including the auto-generated activities by campaign. So this gives you can sort of see that side by side compare against opens, clicks, and then the auto open activity as well. We've had tons of great questions and commentary around auto opens. So a little public service announcement too on this slide. We've refreshed the auto opens and auto clicks OBIE metrics analysis. So there's a whole little write-up in Topliners. If you want to grab the bit.ly, it takes you to that post. I'm sure you've got questions about how Eloqua treats auto opens, all those click-throughs, the ones that are coming through scanning tools, not just with the Apple updates. So we've got a really great Topliners post that I highly encourage you. Grab that little link. I can toss it in the chat at the end as well. But it's going to answer probably most of your questions. And if not, comment on that report because Attilia and the team have been going back and forth with customers, providing a lot of additional insight here. So we're happy to entertain more questions, but there's a good chance we've already covered it. So take a look at that, the updated sheet too, and the updated resource. And then a couple other quick enhancements, just again, within our reporting area. So the dashboard home option has been added to the navigation menu. So, you're digging through dashboards, you're going back and forth. It was a little hard to get back to the main menu. We've made that a little easier. You'll notice in the dropdown now, it says dashboard home, and that'll take you back home. And also the Eloqua Help Center link has been added to our most common reports. So we've got about 14 or 15 reports that this has been added to. When you are potentially a new user, you don't go into reporting very often. Customers quite often have questions about what they're seeing in the reports. And we have content written in the Eloqua Help Center that goes through and details how to interpret each of those common reports that are part of our out-of-the-box offerings. So for each of those 14 or so reports, we've now put in an Eloqua Help Center link that takes you and your users directly to content that will help them interpret what they're seeing. Just a quick note, if you have the analyzer license as well, so not just seeing, but you have the license that you can create custom reports. If you plan to make a version or save this and create some modifications on the report and create it as your own custom version, you need to remove that Eloqua Help Center link or you'll get an error message. So just a little side note there. It's really easy to do so. You go into the results tab, component layout. Like I've got a little image here and we've added a note to our 22D page, but if you get a random error message, please just go delete that little link. It's related to the HTML markup. So you just need to take that out so you can make won't have to do it again. Doesn't apply to any other reports, just these 14 that we've added this little link to. This is just a little thing, but wanted to give you guys the inside scoop on that one. Switching gears from reporting, talk about SFDC, the Salesforce integration app. Nathan and the team have been working closely on making sure that you can protect your data integrity and also prevent data loss. And as such, with the 22D release, if your Salesforce account object billing address field tends to exceed 100 characters, the app will now automatically split it into 3 address fields. So now you can do this, you can have it automatically do this for you, or you can actually use the new line character in Salesforce and dictate how you want it to split up. But if it's over 100 characters, you've got options now. As a reminder, we do this for a variety of other address fields on the account object and other standard object types in Salesforce as well, such as lead and contact. But it gives you that flexibility, and more so, most importantly, we don't want to lose valuable data, right? So it gives you the ability to manage the billing field address as well. And for the Outlook plugin, so 22C, we introduced the new license type. So with 22C, we introduced a new license type. 22D, we're actually enforcing it. So there is a new update coming for the Outlook plugin app. It will be released automatically. It will arrive on Monday, December 12th. As I say, it's part of the app's release, so it happens in the background. After that update, users must have both the Engage and Outlook licenses enabled to be able to log into the app. Nothing new is needed. The licenses are managed by Eloqua. And in fact, with the 22C, excuse me, with the 22C release, any security group that had Eloqua Engage enabled was also given this license. So the only action is if you want to disable users from having access to Outlook add-in, you would need to go in and just adjust your security groups accordingly. And you would want to do that likely before the December release comes out, if you want to roll it back and not have people have access. Otherwise, you would need to make sure those checkboxes that you see on the screen here show Eloqua Engage and the Eloqua Sales Tools for Microsoft Outlook. It will update automatically and everybody can continue using it. There's no disruption to your sales team. Alexa did share this on the an extra little note too on the slide, as well as in our release briefing, our full briefing. But if your IT team wants to manage the release and do a mass deployment, contact our Oracle, like the Oracle support team, Oracle Cloud Support. They can give you details on what to do. So just a little extra tidbit there. And then Engage send limits, they're generally available as of our December release. As a reminder, they are turned off by default, but you can go in and you can enable them to turn them on. The benefit of this is it really helps manage the fatigue and unsubscribes. So sales users can go in and you can set limits to say how many times they can email the same contact over a period of days. This does not apply to your Eloqua Marketing Sense. It only applies, those limits only apply within Engage or the Microsoft Outlook plugin. But it gives you a bit of control over them abusing and maybe sending too many emails. But customizable, and again, it's off by default, but it is generally available as part of the December part of our 22D release. And if you happen to be using the SMS add-on for Eloqua, Save As option is now part of the SMS editor. You can view dependencies. So normally you'd be able to just see this when you want to delete it. You can now view the full list of dependencies for that asset within the SMS editor without having to delete it. And then keywords, we've made some restrictions. So it only supports two-way codes now. This actually makes it easier for management and simplifies the process. So those are some highlights. There are other features as part of the Eloqua release, the 22D. I highly encourage you to go to the release center and take a look. We have a full recording with all the details. We've got bulk API updates. We've got some IP allow list updates and a bunch of other stuff. So you want to check out the full recording, and a reminder of just the Top Liners community in general, which, thank you, Karin, you did talk about. I'm going to go really, really quick on this content. A few other updates. Tip Tuesday, Karin promoted this already. Please, please, please share your favorite tips with us. As much as I want you to go and check out our Tip Tuesday posts, share them with us. I'm always looking for new ideas and I want to feature you. So I'm not going to do too much on it, but please share your ideas. If you are pods 1 through 4, we've published an update on the move to OCI. Pod 6 and 7 are already done. There's nothing else for you to do. But if you're pods 1 through 4, you can anticipate the move to OCI being completed for you either by the 23A release or the 23B release. You can check out some more information in Top Liners. And Spamhaus, if you've not read this post, you must go read this post. Spamhaus is the block list that is frequently used by a lot of global ISPs. They've increased the number of listings for mainstream email marketing senders. explicit permission is required standard. If you haven't confirmed a user is intended to subscribe to all of your message, you could be listed. So they've gotten a lot stricter. You must go read this post. The FAQ that's linked on this product notice here has all the information, but this is sort of a public service announcement to all of our email marketing friends out there. Spamhaus has made changes. So that is it for me. I breezed through that. Happy to take questions. Happy to redirect you to the full recording as well. Thank you, Karin.
Awesome. Thank you, Jody. And you guys, she's mentioned it, but there's a full video that I put the link to the release center that has the full notes, written details about things that Jody talked about, and then the video that they pre-recorded. So they always have a webinar every quarter the product team does to go into even more detail. It's about an hour long. So this is just meant to be the highlights. This isn't meant to be the whole shebang. That's why we just have Jody here for like 15 minutes. But feel free to check those out. You can easily access them with that link I just shared, and she pointed those out on her slides. And the Tips Tuesday, like gosh, 17 years of using Eloqua, I am learning something almost every time there's a tip put out there. So
it's been so great. I've learned so much too. It's been such an awesome, and I'm really excited for other people just to share random things with us. And no tip is too small. Yep. I think people get a little worried that maybe it's too junior. We have marketing users that are brand new, and we have super, super seasoned, 15, 20 years with Eloqua. So no tips too small, no tips too complicated. Share it with me. We'll get it in the calendar. I'm happy to take any tips. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jody. And there actually 2 questions came in related to Spamhaus. If you can take a look at those, maybe put the link if you can to the Top Liners article that gives details about it.
Yeah.
In essence,
I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect. Okay. It'll impact email deliverability if your company happens to be listed in Spamhaus. That's like skinny of it. So you want to check it and make sure you're not there. And if you are, take action on it. But the article that the Oracle product team put out about it gives you way more information than I'm sharing. And for time's sake, I would just encourage you to take a look at that and then let me know. Feel free to reach out to Jody or myself if you have any questions further on that.
Yeah, in particular, I put the chat in particular, go through that, but there's a link to an FAQ from Spamhaus directly. You want to look at that one. That is the meaty, juicy, that will give you all the details. We're just repurposing and sort of redirecting customers to that, but the link's in the chat now.
That's perfect. More questions are coming in on it. Okay, well, we're going to switch gears. We want to make sure we don't short Sinthu's time from Oktopost. So Sinthu, thank you so much for coming to talk to us about Oktopost in general, but also how it can benefit us Eloqua users. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, KP. It's a joy to be here today.
Great.
Hello, everyone. Let me make sure that my presentation is available. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Today, I wanted to show you how it looks like to have a 360-degree view of your customer. This entire conversation stems from this now very well established fact that social media has started having a huge impact in B2B marketing. And it has also started having playing a significant role in shaping a B2B buyer journey, right? A lot happens outside in social before a lead enters into a marketing automation, especially Eloqua. And it is also important for us to start questioning as to how we can track and leverage this social data inside Eloqua, right? Before I get into the details of it, a little bit about me. I am Sinthu Bhairavi. I live and work out of London now, but I come from the southernmost part of India, where weather and food are always very hot. I've been into software implementation and consulting for over a decade now, not as long as Karin, but I am now with the Oktopost team as a solution architect. And if you didn't know already, Oktopost is a social media management platform that helps you with a lot of social media activities such as publishing, advocacy, and most importantly, we have a very good integration, a native integration with Eloqua. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So when you talk about B2B marketing and a B2B buyer journey, B2B buyers leave lots of digital footprint, don't they? And Eloqua captures a lot of these lead activities through emails, websites, and CRM data. So, if you look at it from whatever Eloqua collects as data, this is what it sees as a typical leads interaction with your company's assets. Let's say on day one, a lead who is interested in your content searches on Google about something, lands on your blog post, comes to your website, and then eventually fills out a form. That triggers the Eloqua programs, and then the magic follows. This is what Eloqua captures today, but sadly, that is not the reality, right? When somebody is interested in getting something in these days, especially, there's a lot of sources from which they actually collect that information, and that need not necessarily be website or email or others. But most importantly, these days, they do a lot of research in social media. So it's totally possible that on day one, they clicked on a link that you shared in your company's Twitter profile, and then a few days later, they land on Facebook and like a post that you shared, and after that they come to LinkedIn and click on a LinkedIn post that you shared, and eventually they come to your website, look at a blog, fill out a form, and then get into the Eloqua ecosystem, right? From what we look here, there is a significant chunk of data that we are missing in the buyer journey, which is nothing but the social data, right? So it is understandable that if we actually get the social data, we might get a better picture of, what led them to wherever they are, or what leads a buyer to when they actually reach our systems, right? But you might say that, that is not the case. You have a tool that helps in tracking your social media, managing your social media. That could be the case. That's a good point. But then, whatever is it that you're using currently, if the lead and prospect social interactions and their social activity are not available inside Eloqua for you, then that data remains siloed, right? It's not contributing to any of your marketing processes. In a similar way, what if, let's say, you're sharing a link in your social post, but that link is not to your company website, but it is to a third-party website, but a lead who's interested in your product actually clicks on that link and engages with your content. Eloqua will not track that or capture that, especially because they're not landing in your website, right? Again, siloed. So the point that I'm trying to get at is, as long as your social data remains siloed and it is not connected to the rest of the data that you have inside Eloqua, it becomes very difficult to, especially in these days, to understand a buyer's journey and actually add more value to their journey. So, when you have social data, you get access to, or you get an understanding of what they are interested in, what their needs are, what their pain points are, what they are actually engaging with, and actually how to target them, right? All of that becomes possible when social data becomes available. And the good news is Oktopost has an integration with Eloqua, through which this whole new dimension of social data becomes available for you inside Eloqua. So for every given contact in Eloqua, you can actually view this detailed trail of social engagement, along with a lot of data points, such as which network did it happen in, which exact post was it, who posted it, which campaign does it belong to, a lot of data that is actually useful, right? So how do we do that? We have a native integration. Through this integration, when you connect both the systems, we set up custom data objects. So for each of the social interaction, for the type of engagement that a lead or a prospect can have, we are creating a different custom data object. And under each of them, there are a lot of these fields that as you see on the screen right now. So for each of them, you have the context of network, campaign, post, when did it happen, who created it, what type of engagement it is. And if it was something that involved a lot of text, we also run a keyword analysis. We also run a sentiment analysis to give you more insights into that engagement. So all of this data then becomes available for you inside Eloqua. Now that that data is available, you can then use that information to enrich your existing lead segmentation, nurturing, scoring, and attribution processes that you're already doing inside Eloqua, right? The processes are available inside Eloqua. We are adding a data source that you're otherwise missing, and we are trying to enrich those processes so you get more results out of what you're currently doing. Let's start with lead segmentation, right? So it is an engagement economy today. So one size will certainly not fit all. So it becomes important for us to categorize or identify or segment our contacts based on similar characteristics and then tailor content to that specific group, right? And that's exactly what we do using the segments inside Eloqua. When it comes to the social data, we can include the social data that Oktopost sends inside the segmentation process. For that, first we'll have to create social interest segments. When I say social interest segments, what I mean is, what are those social interest areas under which you want to categorize your lead activities? So for example, taking Oktopost as a company, when we publish content, we categorize them into different areas such as B2B marketing, social media marketing, return on investment related content, social advocacy related content. So we do create those segments. Similarly, it could be different a type of social interest that you want to generate in your clients, and whatever that may be. We first set up those social interest segments because it is easier for us to identify them based on certain properties. Once those segments are set up, then we'll create custom object filters. As I showed you earlier, each social engagement that a contact or lead engages has with your content has its own custom data object inside Eloqua. And we can then use those custom data object filters to then identify the segment, right? For example, let's say we want to build a segment of all the people who mentioned your brand in social media, who use the keyword B2B marketing when they mentioned your brand in social media, right? So we have an engagement type called social mention, which is available as a custom data object, which can be first used here. And then on that custom object, we can apply a filter based on keywords and look for the keyword that is exactly matching or contains B2B marketing, right? How do we enable this? First is obviously you have the custom data object, but also secondary to that, when somebody mentions your content or comments on your content or sends a direct message, Oktopost runs a machine learning algorithm that analyzes the entire text and identifies keywords that were utilized or that are key in those texts, which we can then use to run this analysis. Another example is, let's say you want to create a segment of people who click on social media related content that you share, right? Again, in a similar fashion, there is a custom data object available for link clicks. So you pick that and then apply a filter based on, now what I'm highlighting is a campaign tag. So the reason I wanted to highlight this is when you publish content inside Oktopost, whenever you create a post social content, you create them under campaigns. So there are campaign names associated to them. There are multiple campaign tags associated to them. All of those data elements that were available inside Oktopost will be available as part of this custom data objects inside Eloqua, which makes it possible for you then apply them as filters for your segmentation purposes, right? So these are just examples, but as you know, and as I showed earlier, there are multiple custom data objects corresponding to every single type of engagement that we track, and then a lot of fields or parameters that are associated to each of them. That makes it possible for you to club them, use the filters in whichever way you want, to build those segments that make more sense and that would then create more value, right? Let's now talk about lead nurturing. Speaking of lead nurturing, I think it's more rooted in data, right? The more you know about your leads, the more you know about their needs, wants, likes, the better nurturing that you can do, right? Obviously, if you put it into that context, social data is nothing but more data about your leads, which means it offers more value to your entire nurturing process. So when it comes to how you can use social data in Eloqua in your nurturing processes, it could be done in different ways. One could be, remember the segments that we just built? You could segment based on the social interest areas of your leads and prospects. And then you could build a program in which you target members of these segments, and then follow it up with content that aligns with the social interest areas of these people. So what you are trying to do now is you are actually nurturing the right people, because you exactly know what is the type of content that they engaged with, and you're sending the right content because you're now aligning that the content that you're sending is actually in line with what they are engaging with. So that's one way of setting up nurture processes. The other is, let's say you take a broader segment of people and then you apply the filters on top of them inside the program. For example, what's done here, we have taken a broader segment of people, applying a filter here based on the campaign tag. The campaign tag has to contain the topic GDPR, and then we are following it up with an action by sending a case study related to GDPR to them. So either way, the idea is to qualify or to understand what really is driving the interests of people, or what really is attracting them, what are they actually engaging with, and then aligning our nurturing process or our contents in line with all of that we understood, right? And we've had customers who have this integration, who do these processes, and we have statistically found that by aligning your nurturing programs with the actual engagement of your leads, the click-through rates get higher. It becomes the success of the nurture program actually increases. Why do marketers just have to have all the fun? So this data that we are talking about can also be useful for the salespeople. A very simple example is that, let's say a salesperson has an opportunity that is open, and the lead associated to that opportunity is constantly engaging in social. That's a good kind of information that the salesperson can have, and we can set up an email alert that will send a notification to the salesperson whenever a lead related to their opportunity is engaging socially. Even better, if that lead who's engaging is actually engaging in a negative manner, their comment is negative or their DM that they sent is negative, it's even more valuable for the salesperson to know that. And that's exactly something that we can do. Because again, whenever there is a text that is available, Oktopost runs sentiment analysis on the text. So if it is a comment that the lead posted, or it is a direct message that they sent, we run sentiment analysis on top of it, and we grade it as neutral, negative, and positive. So you can then set up a criteria based on the sentiment of that engagement. And if it is negative, you can then send an email alert to the salesperson. Again, very valuable information. Our salespeople use that. It gives them that quick edge and a quick time to respond. Also has the context over what it is. So the next time they talk to the lead, it becomes easier for them to establish that connection. That brings us to lead scoring, right? After all the hard work that marketers put into generating leads, nurturing them, it is the scoring that helps them in confidently identify which leads to push to sales, which leads to nurture further. And obviously, if you have sales data, that's going to improve that process. The most simple example would be, think about this, maybe there is a lead who is engaging constantly in social media, but they're not having any activity in website. So if you ignore social data, then you'd probably not consider that they are not engaging and you'll be scoring them very low, right? But that's not the true case. Social data brought into lead scoring can actually improve this process, right? And then that can be done in multiple ways again. So first is we give you different types of engagement that the leads are having, starting from like, share, link click, comment, mentioning, direct messages, filling out a Facebook lead ads form. So then you can decide which is significant, because each of this activity could possibly indicate where in their buying journey they are right now at. If they are just liking, probably they are just in the early stages of their buying journey. But if they're sending you a DM, if they are like commenting, they are probably, little longer, or they have spent more time or closer to buying in their buying journey, right? Based on that, we can set up criteria and weightages accordingly. And within each of that, we can set up more rules based on the different other data elements that we have, like, network. For, let's say, for Oktopost as a company, our ICP is someone who engages with us in LinkedIn. So we score a LinkedIn engagement more, and, probably Instagram 0, Facebook a little high, Twitter a little more. So you can use network as a criteria to differentiate and set rules based on that. Similarly, the type of content that they are engaging with, the campaign tags are good indicators of how or what type of content they are engaging with. It could be, so the tag could be anything. You could tag your content as, case study, blog post, webinar, demo request. And then, if they are engaging with a blog post, probably score them less because they might be in their exploratory stage now. Whereas if they are engaging with user, customer case study related content, or actually coming in, clicking on a link that says, give a product demo, you might have to score them higher because they are more interested in what you're offering, right? These are different ways in which. So these are again examples. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of data elements that we are talking about here, a lot of context for each of the social engagement that we have across networks. So depending on what our business case is, we can build that into our existing processes and start seeing value. Finally, I also wanted to talk about attribution, right? It is very clear that in overall in a buyer's B2B buyer's journey, social has a very significant influence. On one hand, it could be the first touch acquisition source. On the other hand, it has a continuous influence. It's being an influential factor throughout the buyer journey. But unfortunately, in most of our cases, it is not attributed to, not enough attribution is given to social. I think mostly because the data is not available. You don't know when, when that engagement happened or what sort of engagement happened in social before the lead got into the system. But we can rectify that with the data, social data that you have inside Eloqua. We could set up a first touch attribution, a very simple model wherein, if a lead gets added to Eloqua from Oktopost, and if the lead's original source is blank, you could update it to social. And a very simple first touch attribution model like that could be set up, or a last touch attribution model where, if a new social engagement is updated for that contact, we could then update the most recent source of lead source as social, right? These are examples. We could explore it in different ways, but this is again, trying to give credit where it's due and trying to incorporate social into the processes. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to highlight, that social is a very important source of data in current age and time. It has huge influence over a buyer's journey, especially in the B2B space. And having this integration would facilitate incorporating that data into your marketing processes. That's all that I had to share today. But yeah.
Thank you, Sinthu. We have two questions for you, and then I want to just make some quick comments. One is there a free trial for Oktopost?
We do not offer trials.
Okay.
The minimum period is a 1 year contract. So you'll have to buy it for 1 year to start using it. And depending on whether you're satisfied or not, it is possible to extend that or, stop that contract.
Okay, that makes sense. And then the other question in the Q&A is, do we capture contacts via Oktopost after they land on our website and fill out a form, or do we get their full info, including email address, prior to them engaging with us on our forms? If you want to answer that in the Q&A, you
can, yeah.
Absorb it and then.
Sure, I will write a response to that here.
Perfect. Okay, and while you're doing that, let me pop my screen back up, guys. We're almost done. Bear with me here. Screen share. Ding, 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 ding. Let's see. This is how I share my screen. Okay. And we don't have a lot of time for tips. What I want to just point out with social is there's a lot to unpack there. Sinthu pointed out a lot of benefits of leveraging social in different ways with Eloqua, and even just Oktopost with its mass listening, social listening, and analytics and publishing. There's a lot of benefits to the platform. And, when you think about your personas, your audiences, you really want to think about which one of your personas or audiences, or maybe it's all of them, interact with you socially. Some organizations I've worked for, it was super heavy. Like our customers, our prospects, they were all on social media. And then I've talked to customers at Sojourn where they have audiences that are less on social media. Nonetheless, you guys know your audiences best, but I didn't mean to rhyme right there. But basically, what we're seeing more is people are engaging more on social, even if they're 70 years old. It's something where, at least on LinkedIn and Twitter, we'll see what happens with Elon Musk owning Twitter and screwing the shit out of it already. But LinkedIn has been obviously not just a place to network like it was initially intended for, but people engaging with each other, helping each other with jobs, but also with content. And my encouragement basically is to have a social presence of some type, know your audience best to know where, and having a tool like Oktopost will help you to know where things are working well to share your content. You might see like, holy crap, nobody's engaging with us on Twitter. And maybe we want to, spend less effort there. Maybe we want to focus more on YouTube and LinkedIn, maybe TikTok. And something else to keep in mind is today's buyers are aging and younger buyers are coming up. We're seeing lots of younger folks, some of you guys on this call, millennials and younger generations spend more time on social. That's no revelation. So it's just something to keep in mind with your social marketing. Anyway, so I can't promote enough Oktopost and what their platform does and the benefits of using that with Eloqua, because if you're not doing something like what Sinthu showed with a social platform, whether it's Oktopost or not, if you're not listening on your social channels and leveraging that in your marketing communications and your customer communications, prospect communications, you're not listening well, right? You're not communicating well. It's a missing link, whether you're in sales or marketing, but definitely with marketing. So we're out of time. We've hit our mark here. We'll get together again in December the 16th. I'll send you guys an invite. We'll also promote it on our social media, at least LinkedIn. With that GIF is getting crazy and watching it. Happy holidays. We'll get together again in a month. And I thank you guys for joining. Jody, Sinthu, thank you guys very much for presenting. Both did a great job. Take care, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.